Hi everybody, welcome back to DayZ, and in this video, in this beginner's guide to modding on console, I'm going to show you how to increase the number of these amazing things, the helicopter crashes. Very, very rare on vanilla, and they kind of spawn really nice loot most of the time. And one of the nicest things you can do on your private community server for Xbox or PlayStation or PC for that matter is have a few more of these so people can bump into them. So let me just close this up and let's go and have a look at how you would do it. So on your Nitrado server, what you'll want to do is you'll want to go into the server interface, and you'll want to go into the file browser. And then you'll want to go into the missions folder, so XP missions or PS missions, or if you're on PC, you've got to dig down a bit further to get to the missions folder. And then if it's a Chernarus server, you're going to go into Chernarus. If it's a Livonia server, you're going to go into the Enoch one. And then what we're interested in is the DB folder here, the DB folder or DB directory. And then what we're interested in is the events.xml file. Now, you can edit this if you like on the go. Just stop your server, open it up. However, I kind of recommend the best way to edit stuff, if you can, is to download the file and download it to your downloads folder on your computer, copy a version of it to your working folder, and then open it up into your favorite text editor. That way you've got the backup in your downloads file, so if you make a mistake you can always just re-upload that one. And so if we go in and we have a look at the events file here, so events.xml. Now I'm using Notepad++ here. Highly recommend this. I'll put a link in the description down below. It's a posh text editor that's free and kind of color code stuff. What we want to do is we want to do a search, Control H, for Heli crash. Here we go. And here we have a static heli crash. So this is the event. So in DayZ, there's different ways that things spawn in. You have your types.xml, where things like your cans of food and your weapons spawn in. And then you have your events.xml that has things like cars spawning in and helicopter crashes spawning in, that kind of thing. So this is the whole bit of code that describes what the game should do. Now when we're talking about events, this first bit is very important, the static bit. And you'll notice when you muck around with events, they have different names at the beginning, and this bit at the beginning tells the game what type of event this is and how it should treat it. So for example, we have static heli crashes, and then we'll have things like item planks, infected, obviously, zombies. And the game, although these are all events, the game treats the event in a slightly different way. So let's go back to the heli crash. So this is the vanilla file here. So we can see that the nominal is 3. So at any one time, there should only be 3 helicopter crashes on your Chernarus or on your Livonia. So as people are wandering around, you should hear the noise of the helicopter crash, wander over there, and then if you're very, very lucky, you will come across a heli crash. And it has a secondary flag as well. So this means that when the helicopter crashes, not only do you get the wreck of the helicopter crash, but you also get some infected army zombies as well. And then if we go look at the children, so the children are the thing that the event spawns. So this is what spawns. So we can see it can spawn one of two things. The Mi-8 crashed helicopter, which is the Russian one, and the UH-1Y helicopter, which is the American Huey type helicopter. So it can spawn either of those. And here we have max 3, min 1. So there should be a minimum of one Mi-8 with a maximum of 3, and a minimum of 3 UH-1Ys with a minimum of 1 of those. Now these numbers here, loot max and loot min, this relates to how much loot should spawn around the helicopter as well. But we're not going to play around with this. Basically, we're just going to increase the number of helicopter crashes there are. Now there are actually, if you go to something like I Survive, or go into your CFG event spawns file, there are actually, I think there's 96 potential helicopter crash sites around Chernarus. They're all these little pink helicopters. So there's lots of them. And it's a big map, isn't it? So you got to think, well, if there's only 3 at any one time, the chances of you coming across a helicopter crash are pretty low. So one of the things you could do is you could say, actually, let's times it by, I don't know, 4. So let's have 12 helicopter crashes. So simply by increasing that to 12, and now we need to make sure that these are increased as well. So let's have a maximum 6 of those, and if we change the minimum of to 6 as well, we're kind of forcing the game to spawn them in. Change that to 6. That's 6 there. So instead of having 3, we're going to have 12. So you're 4 times more likely to come across a helicopter crash as you're wandering around the map. That's quite a lot. You don't really want to go too high because you don't want to put too much stress on the server. And also you don't want to make it a too common thing. You know, a helicopter crash should be something quite rare that you come across and you go, oh wow, what a cool thing, as you find it. Now, it's important to remember though that the more helicopter crashes you have, the more specialist loot is going to be spread over the map, isn't it? Because at helicopter crashes you get the high-end loot, you get the dynamic event loot, and so you may also want to edit your types.xml file. So within the DB folder on your server, you'll also find the types.xml. You've probably messed around with the types.xml already. But if we go to the types.xml, and if we copy that there, dynamic event loot equals 0. If we copy that and we do a find, Control F, and we paste that, but we change that to 1. And we find all in the current document. So these things down here, these are all dynamic event loot items. So these only spawn in at dynamic events. So let's click on the first one. So ammo boxes, for example, only spawn in at helicopter crashes. What have we got here? The org. Actually, some of these might spawn in at the chemical strike places as well, the permanent chemical places. So bear that in mind as well. The cauldron, that's actually a witches one, but the FAL, there we go. So one of the things you might want to do is look at your DE loot, your military DE loot, that is, not the witches DE loot stuff, and increase the amount of, say, the FALs as well, and the bits that go with it, like, and the FAMASs, there you go. So you got FAMAS. So the FAMAS will only be found at dynamic event loot places, which will be helicopter crashes and will be the toxic zones as well. So you may well want to increase that as well, so that people don't come across a helicopter only to find that there's a few t-shirts, because that can be a little bit crap as well. The other thing you may want to do as well is you can change it so that it's only ever counted in the map. So in the vanilla files, for example, if we take the FAMAS, there's only meant to be 5 of them on the whole map, and they're counted in players' hands as well as if they're in the map. So you might want to change that to 0. So that way, if someone has picked up a FAMAS, the game goes, all right, that one's gone. Let's spawn another one in at another helicopter crash or at another toxic zone. Now, once you're happy, you want to save your files, and then you'll want to re-upload them to your server, and you'll want to restart the server. One of the hardest things you can do with helicopter crashes is actually testing whether they've worked or not, because they're such a rare thing. If you're just trying to run around your console server to find them, the chances of you find them are very low. So this is the point where you've really got to reach out to the people who play on your server, in your Discord or your Facebook messaging group, whatever, and say, look, can people, when you go out and about, can you just look out for helicopter crashes and check that they're coming in? If you find one, can you have a look around, see if there's any loot on it, what loot is on it, and just check that there's infected spawning with it as well. And then they can then give you the feedback. So there we go. That, my friends, is how you increase the number of helicopter crashes on your private community server for console. Very, very easy. Just increase the nominal value and then increase the max and min on both types of helicopter crashes so that they add up to whatever the nominal value is, and you'll be finding more helicopter crashes around your map. Okay, so hopefully you found that useful. If you have, hit like. If you want to see more, the same, subscribe, and I will, of course, see you again soon.